Hello and welcome to episode 108 of Toward a Better Life.
Well, don't be afraid of the dark, my dear. Nothing will hurt you. Just bear yourself in these arms. I won't let the cold get you. At the top of the veil, with our stories to tell, I'm a king of the world. Oh, a king of the world. Little spots of rain, and I'm smiling with anticipation. Well, I can still feel your kiss on my lips. I'm bottled elation. From my head to my toes, from the stars to the stones, I am king of the world. Whoa. King of the world. Oh, your smile fill me with joy. Your smile fills me with joy. Your turn, I feel like a boy of 15. Just like a boy of 15. And I'm watching the rain storm rolling on a cold North Atlantic Devon skyline. It's all I can do, just myself without you. In the meantime, with a thunderous applause, all these thoughts, they are yours, and I am king of the world. Oh, king of the world. I'm king of the world. King of the world. Oh, Petrichor, take me to you. Oh, Petrichor, take me to you. Oh, my stumbling heart. Oh, my stumbling heart. On legs made of jelly, I am king of the world. Oh, king of the world. save me a kiss, now I'm intoxified. Save me a kiss, now I'm intoxified. By a jewel in a veil, by a jewel in a veil.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Wish you a very safe journey home. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
This is Kevin Pennell, and that was Alex Roberts with Petrichor. And you can find that song along with other great music from Alex on his website, alexroberts.com. There's a link in the show notes too, and we're going to hear more from Alex and his music in the near future, I assure you. Toward a Better Life podcast features like-minded people sharing their stories and ideas, along with activities and what we can do to generate a better life individually and collectively. You can share your prose, music, poetry, or storytelling on the show too. Just send them to me, kevin@towardabetterlife.com. If it's an audio file, just send it to me as an MP3. Please do subscribe to the show and keep following for magical insights into earth-based spirituality, self-development, and self-care. Also, remember to support the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It just helps to get the word out there, and it helps to build more listeners. So, we heard from Alex Roberts with Petrichor, which, according to Alex, is a love song. And since Valentine's Day is upon us, I thought it would be appropriate to feature the song on this episode. Valentine's Day references love. Well, we're going to stretch the love concept a bit in this week's interview by talking about the person that we should love the most. That would be us, ourselves, and consider what we can do to take care of ourselves. I mean, if we take care of ourselves, we love ourselves, then we're going to be much easier to get along with, and those that we care about, well, it just ends up being a really good relationship, doesn't it? As you know, the theme of Toward a Better Life is to create a better life, and that can touch us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, which embraces our bodies and their functionality. So let's talk medicine. I know it's a little different for this time, but both modern medicine as well as what I like to call ancestral medicine each look at the care that we give, the self-care for these bodies of ours. Sometimes, especially as we age, parts tend to break down or they don't heal quite as quick as they used to. Well, the healing options are growing more all the time, with so many possibilities. This episode examines regenerative medicine. That's it, regenerative medicine. So, though it often seems as modern breakthrough medicine, it's been around for much longer than you think. Dr. Jeffrey Gross has been working for years on this cutting-edge type of medicine, which includes specific orthopedic concerns for the neck, back, shoulder, elbow, wrist, knees, to name a few, along with anti-aging and longevity. So do stay tuned as Dr. Gross discusses the spirit of regenerative medicine on this episode of Toward a Better Life. Hello, Dr. Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Dr. Jeffrey Gross, because I've looked over some information about you, and, Toward a Better Life, of course, talks about how we can create a better life for ourselves and so forth. But tell us how you think that what you do might impact how we can have a better life. Let's kind of start with that.
Well, as a physician, I'm always trying to help people fix a problem, prevent a problem, so they can have a better life. So anything we do here is towards that goal. But I sort of made a little bit of an expansion of my traditional medical practice about 6 years ago when I branched into regenerative medicine. I did some additional training and re-education in order to offer new and more natural and less invasive things for my patients. And my patients at that time were mainly neurosurgical patients of the spine. They had neck or back trouble, pinched nerves, disc problems, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we would treat them with all kinds of different things, from therapies to, injections, all the way up to through surgery. But as a surgeon, I try not to do surgery unless it's the only thing left. And most patients agree and don't want surgery unless it's the only thing left. And they would ask me, hey, how about we try this or that? And you hear stem cells enough time. And I had some undergraduate, background in molecular biology. So it sort of all came together. And I started going to different conferences and different educational seminars and to add these tools, the stem cell based tools for my spine patients, but it's blossomed into so much more. And it's an exciting reboot or version 2.0 of what I do professionally.
Mm-hmm. So can you give us a layman's viewpoint? What exactly is regenerative medicine? I have a pretty good idea, but why don't you share with us what that kind of entails?
Sure. So regenerative medicine is a strategy where we leverage what nature does well on its own to apply it to someone who needs additional help, maybe someone whose own cellular apparatus is not as healthy or robust, or whose own stem cells aren't doing what they should be doing to maintain an adult body. And we tap into what we learn from, the creation and the maintenance of a baby in the womb to a young person who's growing and developing and healing, maybe a young adult even who can heal. And we leverage that into applying it into situations where people aren't healing.
Okay, so I'll throw a couple of them out there. What kind of stuff can this do to, say, help somebody? I'm going to pick on one as arthritis.
Yeah.
And
So
that
that's
seems
probably,
to, yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
no.
That's our low-hanging fruit. When you really look at arthritis, an inflammatory degeneration of a joint, also known as osteoarthritis,
Right.
also known as chondromalacia, which means wearing down of the cartilage,
Mm-hmm.
also known, if it's bad enough, as bone on bone.
Mm-hmm.
And this crappy phrase, which I don't like, but I'll throw it out there because people hear it, degenerative joint disease, or DJD. This is all a lack of ability over time of the cells that make cartilage to continue to make it and maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, a fetus makes its joints, becomes a baby. The joints continue to grow and develop. And a young person can get injured and usually heal from it pretty easily because they have active stem cells, they have active cells making cartilage, they can repair those things. But as we age, as we're exposed to inflammatory changes in our environment, in our food source, in our water, in electromagnetic waves, neurostress, bad thoughts, lack of sleep. I mean, we could make a long list of things that the environment and our behaviors interact in a bad way. Our cells, including our stem cells, get exhausted and cannot maintain the cells in the bone edge and the growth plates that made that joint in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we tap into these more youthful sources of biologics to regenerate. And that's where you get the word regenerative medicine, to help regenerate the cells, tissues, cartilage, for example, to reverse the process that's causing the joint to degenerate.
Okay, so as a clinical massage therapist, I run into people with aches and pains and stuff all the time. I try to relieve the stress and the pain that's there, but at the same time, I want to know why you're feeling that way, why your movement is restricted as it is. One of them that I remember well is I had someone not too long ago, and just correct me if I'm on the right page or not. They're talking about where they actually sit down and they have their blood drawn, and the white blood cells? No, the
Yeah. The
uh,
platelet-rich plasma.
thank you. That's exactly what it was. And she was having the platelet-rich plasma injected into her knees. And
Yeah.
and she said it is phenomenal. It is so much better than any uh, typical shot that we would get to relieve pain because you're really helping to generate what's going on. Is that the same stuff?
It's in the family. So we speak to regenerative biologics. You're speaking to platelet-rich plasma, you're speaking to stem cells, and even beyond that, stem cell-derived signaling factors called exosomes. So all of these things are in the same family, and they can all be used relatively interchangeably. They have different potencies
Okay.
and different costs. So it just depends on the individual, what your goals are, and I'm happy to explain it to the extent you think your audience would be interested.
Yeah, I'm all for it because I
Okay.
think I think one of the things I really like to do with the program is to keep people aware and put things into terminologies that they understand because it's often that I run into this even in the profession that I'm involved in. The magic words come out, "What do you think I can do?" And I'm going, and I start to give up some ideas, but I think if some people had a better understanding of what's out there and what's available,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that you don't just go off and get a steroid shot, you know,
Right.
that's to me, maybe I'm all wrong, but to me, that
No.
ain't necessarily the answer.
So yeah, let's speak to this because we're here to educate and
Yeah,
we want people to know what's out there, what things are, and a steroid shot, a cortisone shot, has a role in acute inflammation and pain.
right.
But it's not a long-term optimal solution, and it is an amazing anti-inflammatory, but it actually accelerates the degeneration of most joints. So
Oh,
you want to be very judicious with those. Not that they're wrong, and we've used them ubiquitously for years, right? This is not, you'll still find them as the frontline treatment for most inflamed joints. So, um, but it's long been known that our body's tissues has the ability to heal ourselves, right? We do that all the time. You cut yourself, it heals, what have you. So we can heal more than just a cut. And if you want to take a middle age or older person, they just don't heal as I just don't heal as well as I did when I was 12. So and you see that, right? You see if you have grandkids like me, they skin their knee on the sidewalk, and mom cleans it up, puts the band-aid on, kisses them, sends them on their way after some Bactine or whatever. And then 3 days later, the band-aid falls off in the bath and the scab is dried and almost done,
yeah.
where you and I bump our arm on the door jamb and we got a bruise for 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
so why are we not healing? It's the same body, the same cells, the same DNA, the same blueprint. And that's because we have stem cell exhaustion and we have accumulated this chronic inflammation. They just don't work as well.
Okay.
And regenerative medicine is sort of cheating. It's using that youthful state to heal something. So PRP is drawn from your own blood. You draw a bunch of vials of blood.
Yeah.
You spin it in a tabletop centrifuge that separates out the red blood cells from the white blood cells. And in between, there's a little layer that has platelet cells. And those platelets are part of our blood. They're made in the bone marrow. They're involved in clotting and have some growth factors and healing potential. And in there are growth factors and things. And you can pipette or suck out that just those layers, add them together, and re-inject them into an area of need, usually a sprain or a strain. There
Hmm.
are also cosmetic purposes. If you've heard of the vampire facial, that's what a vampire facial is. There are all kinds of uses of PRP. Typically, you have to go for 2 or 3 sessions. And, I should say at the outset that none of these regenerative treatments are approved for marketing claims yet, including PRP, but some health insurance companies have figured out it's cheaper to pay for them and they're starting to pay for them. So,
Okay. That was
so
the
you,
next question.
yeah, PRP usually you can get covered. You can get that anywhere. Most orthopedic and even non-orthopedic docs are doing PRP. It's great for tennis elbow, knee strain, you know, anything like that. Even it has broader uses. However, it's the least potent. So
Okay.
whereas you had a client who had wonderful benefits, fantastic, there are people where it's not enough. And then you got to go to something a little stronger.
Okay. So let's talk about the people kind of staying along with the theme of the knees, because I remember in schooling that I've had the two worst joints of the human body are the shoulder and the knee, and it's because of the range of motion that they're able to do. So let's keep with the theme of, say, the knees, and let's talk
Yeah.
about how somebody has, and I know how much you love the term, but they have the degenerative foot joint going on, and he's just throwing his hands up. No, no, don't say that.
Yes,
But
for those of you listening at home, my hair stood up and the hair on the back of my neck was visible. And
so someone who has that, and what do you do when, let's say, like I said, this person has had miraculous results? I've got someone else that was toying with the idea, and I say toying because they're not quite at a stage yet. And I think what they have done is I think they have gone with the shots instead.
yep,
Uh, and
yep.
they seem to be happy with that. And the experience that I've had is those shots typically last about what, a couple of months to a few months, and then they need to go back and have it done again, or maybe it's 6 months. I don't remember. Maybe it probably depends on the person, so how can some of these things, how do they gauge, okay, it's time to move on to the next level? And what would be the next level after PRP, would you say?
Well, the, let's back up one step and make sure we include something. Some of those shots are lubricating shots. They're not cortisone. So
Okay.
they're called hyaluronic acid. They can be from
Yes.
rooster comb. Synvisc is a brand. These are lubricating joints because the cells that normally make the lubricant for the knee aren't doing their job. So we can sometimes just add a lubricant, like the Tin Man needs oil, right? So
Hmm.
and those are usually done in a series of 3 every 6 months, and then they wear out and dry away. It's kind of like artificial tears. You got to keep putting them in.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with them. They're usually covered by most health insurers repeatedly. So you could do that as well, and those tend to help.
Hmm.
They don't regenerate.
Okay.
So back up to how do we look at someone, in the scale of things? You start out with you got knee problems, you got degenerative knee pain and dysfunction. You start out with therapies. You build up the muscles. You do rehabilitative, therapeutic, myofascial treatments like
Hmm.
you offer. You
Hmm.
do you change your diet to an anti-inflammatory style diet that can
Hmm.
sometimes alone make some benefits. You drink more water. You think good thought. I mean, there are lots of things you could do. If those aren't enough, PRP is a wonderful next step.
Okay.
PRP plus lubricating injections might be an interesting combo you could do, and some people do that.
Okay.
Orthopedic could do it. You'd have to go multiple times and repeat these things, but they can maybe slow down the degenerative process.
Okay.
PRP is where you really try to enhance healing back to a more youthful state. The problem with PRP is it has good things. Good things is it's cheap. It comes from your own body. You bring the supplies with you. The bad thing is if your cells, your stem cells, and your regenerative growth factors and everything in your body were going to heal that joint in the first place, um, taking a bunch of those old tissues and putting them in one spot might help some, but it's usually not a powerful enough thing to regenerate.
Okay. So
It
what would
might be
be?
enough.
Oop.
It might be enough to slow the inflammation and get some pain reduction,
Okay.
like your one client. But the next step up would be go to either a stem cell or stem cell signaling factor, which come from a more youthful source, because there are two sources. Number one is you could get the stem cells from your own body, just like you get the PRP. But if you're going to go through the process of having a stem cell procedure, I don't want my old stuff. I want some of that young stuff, right?
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
have to dispel a myth. A lot of people think that there are these baby harvesting farms and things, and there are not. This is what big pharma wants you to think, so they can sell you more cortisone. Okay.
Hmm.
So what happens is most of the labs, which ironically are FDA certified and compliant, even though we can't make marketing claims about these things, including PRP, these labs get donors from planned C-section mothers. So they have their baby. Congratulations, it's a boy.
Yeah.
Instead of throwing away the amniotic fluid and the umbilical cord and all that loving goodness that just was part of the baby factory, they donate it. It's a pure donation. They don't get paid for it. And under, donor conditions, the same rules and certifications that apply to like a kidney donation or a heart donation, they take care of these tissues. They go to labs, they get tested and screened and quarantined, and then they make them available to us end user clinics. So we can get stem cells and stem cell derived growth factors, signaling factors called exosomes, and they come from the most youthful source. They're not adulterated by inflammation, by stress, by poisons, by additives in the food, by electromagnetic fields, by whatever that person has decades of experience. And this is the most powerful and effective source, and that's what we're using mostly.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Only because, there's so much out there, and I'm going to use the magic word press. I can because I used to be part of that group. And there's so much bad press out there, and it's exactly what you just said, doctor, that so many people believe it's a baby thing. I'm going to go out and we're doing bad things to babies. I'll be good in that sense.
Right.
And, it's just, no, it's not that at all. There are other means, and this is where they come from. Curiosity more than anything else. Is the placenta part of that too, or
It can be. Different
Okay.
labs harvest different things. A full donation would be amniotic fluid, placenta, parts of the placenta, umbilical cord, and they usually separate it out. Cellular products, non-cellular products like the growth factors and the exosomes, and even the jelly from the umbilical cord called Wharton's jelly is part of it
Right.
also.
Yep. So we might get a little graphic here, but I
All right.
remember a real interesting book I read some years ago. It was called Mutant Messenger Down Under. Are you familiar with the book?
No, sir.
Okay. So this was I'm going to call it an autobiography of a lady's experience who went down into Australia and lived with the Aboriginal people of Australia for several months. She went on what the term, of course, is colloquial in Australia. And I do have some listeners in Australia, so if I mess this up, guys, I apologize. But they went on a walkabout. But the walkabout wasn't just a weekend or a couple of weeks. This was months, and she literally went from one end to the other. And one of the things I'm bringing all this stuff up is one of the things that she learned was that the women, when they would give birth, they would collect what was left of exactly just the same thing that you said, and
Yep.
they would keep it and they would preserve it. I don't want to know how, it doesn't matter. But somehow or another they did. And they also collected the menstrual fluids and they kept it separate, but they kept it. And she said that somebody, it's in the book, go read it. But apparently there was somebody who fell and they broke a leg, and it was a compound fracture. And for those that don't know what a compound fracture is, that's where the bone has basically protruded through the flesh. Is that correct, doctor? He's
Correct.
holding a thumbs up. All right. And so it was pretty bad. And the ladies went over, and this is where she was wondering what is in that bag, because she didn't know up to that point. And they explained to her in best forms that they could, this is the leftovers, this is afterbirth. And they took that stuff and they made it into a salve and they applied it to it. And she says in a matter of not weeks, days, it was a phenomenal change in how that break was healing. And it just blew me away. I said, "Oh my gosh." So I'm bringing all that stuff up because it's miraculous, the work that you're doing, but it's also miraculous to me that this, I'm going to say, technology has been around a lot longer than we
Yes,
think.
it has.
And
Yes,
now we're starting to say, okay, now we can believe it because the medical community is saying, yeah, it's all right, it works. It's like, yeah, and it's already been here.
This is not new. We don't want to sit around patting ourselves on the back thinking we've got this great new thing. This is, you know, cultures go way back in eating the placenta and
Hmm.
using it, and you can get placental capsules. There are cultures that actually just cook it and eat it and share it, and there are other analogs in nature. You look at the health benefits of bone broth and bone
Hmm.
marrow as a delicacy. And why is that? And other animals eat bone marrow too. It's because the richest source of stem cells is in the bone marrow. So you're imbibing, you're ingesting the bone broth and eating the stem cells and getting health benefits from that.
Yeah. And I remember that from studies in herbology. They said, one of the best things you can do is a good bone broth. If somebody is emaciated to some level or another, just get them some bone broth, and it's amazing what it'll do because it helps. And then you go into grandma's chicken soup,
You
and
beat
it's
me to
it,
it. I was
you
going
know,
to add that.
and it's real chicken soup, everybody. And I'm not
Yep.
going to name the name, but everybody knows a certain brand of chicken noodle soup. But
Yep.
this is real chicken noodle soup where you actually take the carcass of the chicken, you boil it down. Didn't know this was going to go into a cooking show, but
Yep.
you boil it down, and all the nutrients that are encapsulated in the bones and the tissues that typically would be thrown into the garbage, they're a miraculous. It has wondrous stuff that I was taught was it has certain antibiotic properties to it
Yep.
just because of what it can do.
Yeah, and let's talk about what those are, because I mentioned the word a couple times, but I want to make sure we educate your audience because this is coming. I mean, it's here in my clinic, but it's coming out everywhere. And these are small communicating factors that come from stem cells. They come from any cell, but stem cells are the good ones.
Hmm.
And they're smaller, even smaller than cells, and they're called exosomes,
Right.
exosomes, and they are an outpocketing of the cell membrane, chock full of growth factors and healing peptides and mRNAs that your body makes that go to and are taken in by another cell. So when you get a stem cell treatment, those stem cells go to into your body and deliver exosomes. So it's the exosomes that are doing the work of the stem cells. When you
Ah.
get chicken soup, you're getting a dose of exosomes from chicken bone marrow because the cells will open up in that boiling water. The growth factors will denature. All you're getting are the exosomes, and they can survive heat and cold.
Mm. Really?
Yeah.
Because I know some of the stuff you look at, like people, this is way off from that, but one of the things they talk about is everyone wants to get honey. And honey is a great thing. Honey, you put it on burns, you can do all kinds of wonder. It
Yep.
helps. It helps with seasonal allergies and all. But the thing they don't tell you sometimes is that it's best if you get it within probably 25 to 50 miles of where you live because of the properties that are present
Right.
there. B, don't ever cook it. Dear Lord, don't ever sweeten something with honey and put it in the microwave because you just destroyed it. It's a great
Yeah.
sweetener,
Right.
but all of the beneficial properties are gone. So the
Right.
hot and cold is what turned me on to that because you have to watch heat with honey. And so now the exosomes, you don't have that problem.
True, but there are benefits from things that aren't exosomes, growth factors, peptides, and proteins, which most of our body functions on certain elements of protein, and all the little things in our cells that do anything are called enzymes or proteins and peptides. So we they don't like heat, and we
Hmm.
make them, and we need nitrogen. So this is a plug for make sure you get enough protein in your diet. We as Americans particularly are protein starved.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Give me
we
an
need
example
protein.
of a of something like that because I'm with you 100%, but let's hear it from a doctor.
Yeah, I mean
As far as
we
protein starved, because people think about protein and they say, well, I go to fast food this and I can go get this off the shelf and I can get that and
yep,
microwave
yep,
it and it's
yep.
loaded with all kinds of meat and everything. You're telling me it doesn't have protein? Go ahead.
It has some, but it's probably not the best mix of amino acids, and it's
Mm.
probably not enough. Not that I'm advocating fast food's okay, just go eat all your protein there. We know that muscle mass, aka protein maintenance, is affiliated with longevity. So you want healthy longevity, you got to keep moving, you got to keep your muscles fed, and they are not going to be fed with carbohydrates, which are foods of convenience, which as modern Americans is easy for us. A quick meal, a quick snack, a drive through here, you're right. So we really need to focus on more protein. So protein supplementation, you can make a protein, shake instead of a cola or whatever. I mean, just we don't get enough in our meals.
I mean, there was another book that came out years and years ago. It talked about traditional medicine. Traditional foods are your best medicine. So we can
Agreed.
get so much out of our natural foods. I mean, I've noticed some years ago, I really did take a hard and fast look at what I was consuming. And to tell you the truth, yes, I had some cake recently. But the beauty of it is, I look at it differently than I used to. I had this conversation with a client today. I say that, one of the major issues that we have, she says, well, I have a lot of trouble with sugar. I said, well, I understand what you're saying because processed sugar is not good for you at all. But if you only do it once a week and you look at it as a treat, that's completely different than having it every day. And I think that's where a lot of us go is it's every day.
Yeah, it's too easy. It's abundant. It's hard. It's
Oh yeah.
hard to avoid it. Actually, it's harder to avoid it than it is to get it. Where if I can, you remember perhaps something called the Hour Gang comedies on black and white
Oh, a
shorts.
little bit.
Okay, and that wasn't meant to be rude or anything. I remember them myself, but those kids would have to go to the candy store with a penny or a nickel and buy a piece of candy to get sugar. Sugar was
Hmm.
not available as a routine part of their diet, right? Um, they might have complex carbs, starches, and things in their diet, but sugar was just not refined sugar was not a thing.
Right.
The closest you would get naturally would be like molasses, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so now it's everywhere. It's in everything you drink and eat, and it's hopefully some of the changes coming at Health and Human Services will help us make it easier to make sugar more difficult to obtain.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we go back to some of the information that you're working with regenerative medicine, if we look at some of the stuff when we're talking about the diets and so forth that we get ourselves involved in, I'm going to say that probably if we consume some of the sugar and some of the poor proteins, I'm going to use the term, I'm going to say it probably has a negative effect on on the regenerative medicine that I'm trying to take. So I know that in my own case, I had somebody who was dealing with gout. And
Yeah.
years ago, I did clinical herbalism, and I had something that would help him with his gout. And I told him once, I said, "Well, I've got this tincture, and it's really beneficial, and I've known that it's had some really good effects on people. And by the way, are you still eating?" And I went down the list. He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm still eating that." And I said, "Well, I think the world of you, and I know this guy. He's a good friend." And I said, I think the world of you, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to save your money." He goes, "Why?" I said, "I'm not sending it to you." He says, "Why not?" I said, "Because you're undoing everything that I'm trying to do."
No, you're 100% correct. We help people optimize their lifestyle, their behaviors, their diets, everything before we do something with regenerative medicine because we want to stack the deck in the favor of success. And
Yay.
we don't want someone to, pay the money and do this and then not have the kind of outcome we're all shooting for. And we have, I'm not allowed to make any marketing claims, but I can tell you anecdotes and stories. But we have amazing before and after MRIs in some people where we've taken a knee and they were told they need a knee replacement, and now, they can run and they don't have pain, and the MRI has shown regrowth where the knee has regrown some of the cartilage. That
Wow.
your body does the work, and of course it takes some effort, but your body redoes the work. We're just tapping back into the factory, put in a new factory order.
There you go. See, it's out there, everybody.
And you don't have to leave the US. For decades, the professional athletes would go to Europe. Rogan sends people to Tijuana, the mixed martial arts fighters.
Hmm.
And you don't have to leave the US. We just can't advertise so you don't hear about us. But I'm not the only one. We're all over the United States. You can search regenerative medicine and the city you live in and find someone that does this.
Okay, that was the next question. Is how readily available is it? Where,
It's out there. Now, insurance will not pay for stem cells or exosomes yet.
okay.
Yeah.
So how do you work around that? And
Well,
is there a workaround? Because I know
yeah.
that it's not free. So what do you do?
Yeah. So you can use an HSA or an FSA plan, which is a health insurance plan that has some sort of
All right.
owner-directed funds.
Mhm.
You can you can you can pay cash. People have done GoFundMe's and things like that. There are different ways to do it. We have a 501(c) where if you want to donate money for someone, you
Okay.
can deduct it for that person. Deductible donation towards something. So, and honestly, with the exosomes are less than half the price of stem cells with, in my mind, equivalent results. So, the costs have come way down.
So, okay, so you just said that part too, which is intriguing. They can get work done, they can experience the regenerative medicine through exosomes and not just through stem cells. Is that correct?
Right. Well, exosomes are
Right.
derived from stem cells, so they're
Right.
doing the work of stem cells without the actual cells. So that's nice as
Yeah.
well. And I've been, you know, exosomes are the business end, and they have certain other advantages besides lower cost. They're more
Mhm.
abundant. They travel better throughout the body. They're easier to store and handle. There are other factors. For example, when we give them intravenous, they're small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier. So anyone who wants to reduce neuroinflammation, maybe get some help with, you know, problems that are the inflammatory complications of Alzheimer's dementia or MS or Parkinson's. There are wonderful studies. So there's nothing we're doing that's shooting from the hip. Everything is based on good science. I will tell you, most of that science is done in Europe and Asia. We are late to the party.
Hmm. And that's often the case, isn't it? Unfortunately. We get so wrapped up in our little world that we have here, and it's hustle bustle, go, 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 that we don't pay attention to what really works. And it's a shame. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's taken decades because we still face it in our industry of massage and wellness that people see massage as just a nice luxury, and they don't recognize that overseas, people get massages like they get haircuts.
Yeah.
It's just something you do to take care of your body.
It's wonderful
So,
for maintenance, and I agree with you. Yeah.
so if somebody is interested in regenerative medicine, is there like a national organization? Do they just do a Google search on regenerative medicine? Or if somebody was interested even in Western North Carolina, they would type in regenerative medicine, Asheville, and you might get some stuff. Or how do you go about
Yeah,
doing that?
you might. It just, it's very, we cannot advertise on Google. We cannot advertise on Facebook. So it's very difficult to get your message out there. Podcasts are a great way because we're the tip of the spear on free speech, really. So
Hmm.
I think that you just Google it, you ask around. I do know clinics elsewhere. There isn't a really singular organization like there is for like the Academy of Orthopedics,
Hmm.
yet. There are some fledgling groups, but there's nowhere you can really draw from. Probably the best place is called I think it's the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, also known as A4M. That's the number four.
Okay.
Uh, and that our national meeting is actually starting in a few days. So we will be there. And it's a lot of things. It's not regenerative medicine by itself. It's all kinds of wellness and functional health and naturopathic health and all kinds of things. But it's a place where we converge, and a lot of regenerative doctors attend. So
Okay.
we're having some of those meetings. But you know, you can find, you look hard enough on Google, you will find it. I do know of a clinic in Charlotte. I don't know how that's far from you that is.
It's
But
well, when you have things that are going on that we do nowadays, and people are ready, they're down to their proverbial last straw. They'll drive 2 hours, and that's basically about how far it is from here to there.
very
So,
good.
you've answered the question that it is easy enough to find. They don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to pack up and go to Mayo Clinic for 2 weeks. So,
No, in fact, I'm very disappointed in big name academic centers medically, and what's out there on the internet. Mayo Clinic has a big website, and and a lot of the stuff on there is watered down, Kool-Aid scripted, health insurance driven crap, and you will not find these places doing these cutting edge things because they get government funds, and the government restricts them from venturing into new exciting areas.
okay, so let's take it a step further. What do you see in the not what do you see in the horizon that's coming our way? Do you think that people should keep their eyes open for and things of that nature?
Well, I'm working on a project. I'll put a plug in for that. So we know that exosomes are quite beneficial for regenerative properties, for anti-inflammatory, for slowing the biological aging of cells, which can help with healthy longevity. We have people that do it just preventatively. I'm one of them. I
Hmm.
do IVs 4 times a year. But we now have in other countries a subset of exosomes that do specific things.
Hmm.
They're not just generically, part of the baby making factory and all that. We have some from the immune system that are known to identify and kill cancer cells without harming normal cells. So we're trying to get a hold of these, we'll call them designer or specific exosomes. Could you imagine the augmentative benefit in treating different types of cancer that we
Hmm.
can have? So I'm working actively on that so we can get those and make them available to people on a compassionate use and other expanded use basis.
Because what I'm hearing from you, doctor, is that this could be certainly underscored as a holistic approach to medicine. It's not mainstream by any means. I mean, we haven't pulled any punches about that.
Nope. Nope.
And, I appreciate the fact that my own doctor, I've had association with him going on 9 years since we moved into the area. And he's very holistic in his approach on a lot of things. And one of the things that really caught my eye, he is a board certified physician. He's GP, and I don't diss by any means osteopaths or anyone of that nature or naturopaths because they're viable as well. But
Right.
this doctor, if necessary, can and will go to the local hospital because the hospital recognizes him as a board certified physician. And he's very holistic in his approach. And the last thing that he will do is prescribe a medicine because he sees it as he would rather work with you with diet and exercise and supplements and nutrition. And when necessary, yes, absolutely, he will prescribe, but he tries everything else first. You don't find that. And the next piece is what it impressed me the most is I go in for my physical with him and I'm I'm impressed. I won't put you on the spot, but I'm impressed by the fact that I don't sit in his office 15 minutes and he says goodbye to me and sends me a bill for $300. It is actually a case where I sit in his office often 40 to 45 minutes at the low end. And it's not just shooting the poo. It is really getting into the stuff about what makes Kevin tick and what can Kevin do to help out a little bit more. And you don't find physicians that are willing to do that much anymore. And I get it, but man, dial it back a hair and take care of people.
Well, listen, what you're describing is what it's supposed to be. That's what we're supposed to do. That's the Hippocratic Oath in function.
Hmm.
But what's happened is the dollars are being sucked out of medicine by insurance companies. I know this is very topical right now,
Hmm.
um, and who are making $80 billion a year. Well, and the only way they do that is to pay less than they receive in premiums. And to do that, they water down what they pay for the delivery of care. So the doctors are not the greedy ones, it's the
Mm-mm.
insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
The only way the doctors can pay their rent and their malpractice insurance is to see more patients per hour, which diminishes the amount of time they have with you. And that's the problem. And doctors are not good businessmen, and they let this happen, and it's partly our fault, which is why I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I can't do it. I can't participate in a system that's working against my patient.
I'm curious, do you take insurance?
I haven't taken it for years,
Okay.
but but
Neither does mine. He
but
doesn't, you
but you
know?
can't you cannot practice medicine the way it's supposed to be practiced, the way people want and deserve it
Mm-hmm.
in that model.
Right.
And until doctors say no, this is going to keep happening.
Sure. Okay. We can move from the soapbox
We could
from
spend
both of us.
another hour on that if you like.
Oh, easy. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm just not. Um, because I'm more intrigued by the work that you're doing. And before I forget about it, let's touch on how do people get in touch with Dr. Jeffrey Gross? And is it a website? Do you have a practice? I know you have a practice, but how's the best way?
Well, my practice is called Recelebrate because you are celebrating the renewal of your cells. So it's RECELLEBRATE, and you can find our website as recelebrate.com. We are on all the social media channels. If you just Google that word, you will find us. That's how you get to us, and we see a lot of people for consultations remotely through video, just like we're meeting now. And most people aren't ready or don't even need to come see us unless we're doing something specific. Most of my work is intravenous and joint and spine because
Okay.
I'm a spine surgeon by training. So most of what I do involves injections. So we do the deeper injections with a twilight sedation at a facility in a sterile setting. IVs we do here in the office. We do some other miscellaneous things as well. But the vast majority of my practice is either health and wellness or musculoskeletal for those reasons.
So you do the consult as we're doing by video, and
Right.
then they would make arrangements to come to you, I
If
guess.
needed. Some people, have multiple consultation visits remotely. Maybe they need to get an MRI. We order it for them in their city. We look at the
Okay.
results together. We maybe have to optimize some aspects of their health before they're a candidate. And if they're doing better, maybe they don't need to come at all. So that's even better. But we're based in Las Vegas, Nevada. So people don't mind coming to travel to Las Vegas, make a weekend of it, see a show, have a nice dinner, whatever, and then we are a destination.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And do you do like you're going to a conference coming up in the not too distant future, but the thing that I'm curious about too is do you do like group Zoom stuff for people, educational things of that nature? Do you do workshops?
I do them ad hoc, meaning I don't have them scheduled, but I don't mind doing them. We've done them before. Uh, if you have something in mind, I'd be open to hearing about it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying if people wanted to reach out to you to have you as a speaker
Oh,
at
sure.
a meeting or something like that, just to get in touch with you through recelebrate.com. Is that
Yeah, find us there. My staff will let me know what's going on, and we'll take
okay?
it from there. Yeah, I would enjoy that. We've
Okay.
taken part in summits and workshops and things and conferences all the time.
Okay. All right. So, what does Dr. Jeffrey Gross do to create a better life for himself?
Well, I try to make time to turn off my brain and turn on my body. So you got to keep moving for longevity. As the weather allows, I do like to jog.
Hmm.
Uh, I do like to go to the gym, and then my favorite thing now is the last few years is this yin yoga. So um, I try to do that. I don't get there enough, but if I could do it 3 times a week, I'd be happy.
That's excellent. Any last thoughts that you would like to share with our audience today, Doctor?
Yeah, don't take no for an answer. If your physician says, stem cell, it's not ready for stem cells, or you hear they're illegal or some crap like that, you're talking to the wrong person. They just haven't been updated. Keep asking, keep looking. You know what's best for you.
And those are powerful words. If people could really understand the scope of that statement, that you're the best judge of yourself. Just really listen to yourself. That's great. Dr. Gross, this has been an incredible experience. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to share with us about regenerative medicine. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Gross, for expanding our understanding of regenerative medicine. If you'd like to learn more, just visit Dr. Jeffrey and visit him through his website, recelebrate.com, just like he said, recellelebrate.com. There's a link in the show notes for that. Plus, he's also given us some other information, really helpful links about regenerative medicine as well. So it's all there in the show notes. And there's also information on our music that was provided this time on this episode of podcast. And that was, of course, Alex Roberts, and there's information for him as well on the show notes. So, if you're seeking insights and advice on how to create a better life for yourself, and if you'd like to dive into self-care, self-development, or distant shamanic work, drop me a line, kevin@towardaBetterLife.com, for a free discovery call. You can also visit my website, towardaBetterLife.com, for past episodes, blog entries, ways to enhance your spiritual journey, and a few products to assist you along the way. And also, you can have the opportunity to buy my book, Two Feathers, Spiritual Seed Planter. I also offer Toward a Better Life virtual and in-person sessions, and there's going to be some workshops coming up in New England later on this spring. So just check it out for the details. Kevin, towardaBetterLife.com, for any details that you'd like to do as far as sending me an email. Please subscribe and follow to Toward a Better Life through your favorite podcast platform. And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps to spread the word about the program, and it helps create, a better life. If you've got any questions, or if you'd like to share your story, music, prose, or if it's an audio file, just send them to me as an MP3. Or if you want to be my guest, just write to me, kevin@towardaBetterLife.com. That's kevin@towardaBetterLife.com. Until next week, enjoy your journey toward a better life.